Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Down Syndrome Center podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Kishore Velody, and it is October, and that means it is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, which is always a fantastic month for those of us who have loved ones with Down syndrome, and so many exciting activities that go on in all of our communities. And so, as we did, I think last year, and maybe even the year before, we want to have on our local Down Syndrome Association, the Down Syndrome Association of Pittsburgh, to talk about all of the wonderful things that are going on through their organization, not just in October, but really throughout the year. And so I'm so excited to have two guests on with us today, Shannon Striner and Meredith Peterson. How about this? Instead of me introducing you guys, how about Shannon, you start? You tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and with DSAP and why you love working with our population.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having us on. I am so excited to share what DSAP has been doing and what we have coming up in October for Down Syndrome Awareness Month. My connection to the Down syndrome community began with the birth of my daughter, Sienna, who is 6 and just started kindergarten. And she also has an older sister, Haley, who is 9. And when Sienna was born, her diagnosis came as a surprise to us. We were unprepared for it. She was a birth diagnosis. And I remember coming home from the hospital and, making that mistake that parents make and Googling Down syndrome and just seeing so much misinformation out there. But at the time, I didn't know that. And, it really was hard to process that. And then a friend sent me a blog post from a mom. And instead of Googling Down syndrome, then I started Googling Down syndrome blogs. And then I started reading post after post from moms. And I realized this is where the joy lives. This is a real picture of what life can look like. And, Dr. Velody, I remember our first appointment with you too. And knowing that you have a brother and that is what contributed to you becoming a doctor. All of that was so helpful. That connection with other parents is really what helped me get through things. So, as Sienna got older, I started volunteering at DSAP events, and there was a lot of big events, but I wasn't connecting locally with moms. So I wanted to do more, and that led to me joining the board of DSAP in the worst possible time, June 2020. And, I've been serving now since then, and I lead the organization with Meredith Peterson, our executive director. Matt McGrath is our co-president. We have an amazing volunteer board with us as well, and we just hired a new employee, Masha. So that's who I am. And again, thanks for having us.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast. And Meredith, how about you? Why don't you share a little bit about who you are and what you do for the organization as well?
Yeah, thanks so much, Kishore. Yeah, I am officially the first paid staff member of DSAP, which is pretty awesome. I actually transitioned during COVID in April of 2020. I was actually the program coordinator with Kishore at the Down Syndrome Center before I came over onto this side into the community. So, I've spent many years working at the Down Syndrome Center and which also makes me, a unique role in serving the community in this capacity as we continue to support the Down Syndrome Center. But, some of the big things I do, I oversee all aspects of the organization. I serve as a resource for parents and our community, as well as, I'm the face of the organization. I'm able to speak at events. I'm able to, just represent our organization on, just various things within the community. I also happen to be a parent. My oldest daughter, Macy, is 14, who has Down syndrome. And then I also have a 12-year-old son, Maxton. So one of the big things that, I am leading our organization, just all of the things is just following, the lead of the parents that came before us. I mean, the Down Syndrome Association of Pittsburgh was actually started in 1974. So we're almost 50 years old. And so to have those trailblazing parents that came in and has just, brought so much education and support, almost 50 years ago, and having us, just following their lead and just continuing to allow parents to be supported, for our kids and adults to have medical care with Down syndrome, and then, making sure our community members, are supported, to be able just learning about what Down syndrome is, and, overall just our region accepting all individuals regardless. So I just think that's just a big mission of ours here at DSAP.
That's fantastic. And it's something that I love sharing with our families, even when we meet new babies. I'm thinking even of just yesterday, met a new baby, and being able to share with the family the fact that this center where we do our medical care exists only because of the parent group and for parents who have come before them. And oftentimes that even brings about a tear. As both of you know, as parents, the idea that people who 50 years ago were starting an organization and just over 30 years ago created this Down Syndrome Center and continue to support it, I think is a fantastic Western PA kind of story. It's something that we don't really see everywhere else in the country, and it's a beautiful thing. So it used to be, there was a time when I actually first started at the center where the Down Syndrome Association of Pittsburgh, really the main goal was supporting the center, but things have grown so wonderfully within your organization that there are tons of new endeavors that are there to serve the families in this area. And I'd love to highlight some of those today. Why don't we start with talking about some of the family connections that you guys are doing, and you guys can take it from there. Whatever else you'd like to talk about.
Sure. Thanks, Kishore. And just with our family connections, what that is, it's a program that, the organization, we decided how can we connect our families? So, during Zoom during the pandemic and, introducing Zoom, we decided to hold, just monthly Zooms. And we, broke it down to parents that had children ages 0 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 12, parents of teenagers, parents of adults. And then we also we called it the parent or the adult sibling group. And, we tried to hold, some of our groups took off with Zoom, and others of them, decided to meet quarterly. Our dad's group in particular, Zoom was just not a good fit. So, it was more waiting till the pandemic lifted and just being able to have a dad's connection where we're, in person. So we have just, continued to, morph and, add in more in person as the years have progressed. In 2021, we did, almost like a hybrid option where we did a lot of Zooms in the winter, and fall seasons. And over the summer when it was safe to be out, we did a lot of park play dates and, moms meetups and dad's nights and things like that. But here in 2021, it has really been very much a focus of, monthly moms nights where we are meeting at restaurants, all different pockets of our region. We've, gone to the West, we've gone to the North, we've gone to the South, we've gone to the heart of the city, so we're just, trying to make ourselves around because here in Pittsburgh, we are a city of bridges, and we want to make sure that, people stay in their, want to stay in their areas. And, so we're trying to bring, DSAP and bring that connection to them. And, maybe if we're meeting in North Park, maybe those moms that we were there, they can meet each other and then they can continue meeting together in North Park, and we can just continue to, however that looks, we can continue to support. So our dad's group, they meet quarterly. Our newest group that we have right now that's meeting is the Close Connections. And Kishore, I believe you've been part of that.
That was fun.
You and your wife have been able to do that. Yeah. So our Close Connections is anyone that has a close connection to somebody with Down syndrome. So we have siblings, we have aunts and uncles, we have community members, and they are just meeting quarterly just to discuss what are the needs in the community. How can we support? A lot of our best volunteers come from this Close Connection group. So just some key dates coming up. Our mom's night is going to be November 9th. Our dad's night is TBD sometime here in November or December. Our Close Connections is going to be November 10th. And I think that's the biggest part with the family connection. Shannon, what else am I missing? Or what else could you add?
Yeah, so I think, just to echo those sentiments and, as I mentioned, we started with all this during the pandemic, and in a lot of ways that was a challenge. But, one of the things we were seeing is that new babies who were being born during this time, these parents, they didn't have therapy in their home. Everything was virtual, and they were really craving that connection and that interaction with the community. And I can just share that the 0 to 2 group, so incredibly rewarding to talk to these new parents and just, watch moms rally around them and tell them it's going to be okay and we're here for you. And, it's been incredibly rewarding to watch those relationships thrive. And as Meredith mentioned, Pittsburgh is a city that people do not like to drive over a bridge and go to a different neighborhood. So in some ways, those Zoom groups were amazing and they fostered relationships. And now we're back to doing things in person. And we just had our first parents' night out. And it ranged from parents with a newborn to parents with a 23-year-old. And there's just an overwhelming sense of community there. And just to look around the room and see parents talking and connecting is incredible. And our family connection program continues to be there for all different ages and stages of this community. So
That's great. Yeah, I agree. I was at that Close Connections just a few weeks ago now with my wife, and just really cool to hang out with other siblings, but also just more distant, even relatives, but people who have been impacted by someone with Down syndrome in their life. I think that was just really neat to be a part of it. One of the things you guys had mentioned was that newborn age group, that importance of getting that connection. And there's a program that you guys have been doing called First Call. And I was wondering if you might be able to share a little bit about that. Meredith, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about what is this First Call program?
Sure. So the National First Call Center is out of Massachusetts. And so they started this program, and it's the Massachusetts Down Syndrome Congress. And they started this program, to support, those in their, a new parent or an expectant parent when they hear the words Down syndrome. And so out of this national program, what they have done is they then train local Down syndrome associations like ourselves, and to be able to run their curriculum, have the program support, be able to have a genetic counselor on staff that we can ask questions or refer, those complicated questions either back to Massachusetts or to the Down Syndrome Center, to where we're able to get those families that have the questions with that support. So having that program here in Pittsburgh, we now have, trained parent mentors. So we have parents that have been trained to be trainers, and then they are organically training parent mentors in their locality, or, with our support, we are just continuing to hold, hybrid trainings. We're holding Zoom trainings. We've been doing in-person trainings, just trying to, meet the needs and get as many trained parent mentors to be able to support these new and expectant parents. So with the program, what it does is, as a trained parent mentor, and this would be somebody that has a child with Down syndrome ages 5 and under. And so the program is designed that it's closest to that diagnosis period, and just being able to just better mentor that new and expectant parent just because of that age. And the whole point of it is it's providing, support. It's providing objective information about Down syndrome. It's making sure that they are connected to early intervention, to medical assistance here in Pennsylvania, making sure, most importantly, that they are getting connected with the Down Syndrome Center. Usually it's, a referral coming either from us to the Down Syndrome Center, or the Down Syndrome Center coming to our First Call program. So, we're constantly making sure these families are getting the support in all aspects. But the big key piece of this new parent support for this new parent is we're supporting them through that whole first year of the child's life. So, as we're having these events, we're able to have that parent mentor invite the new parents to come. So we had a new parent, we had a couple that came to our parents' night. Their mentee or their mentor was there, and they were able to meet in person. So the husband and wives were able to meet each other and just feel welcomed at an event, because you already had a familiar face, already had that relationship, and, just already had that support. And so, Shannon, I'd love for you to share some of your experiences, because Shannon is a parent mentor.
Oh, so. That's awesome.
Yes, I am. I am connected with a new mom, and it's been wonderful and incredibly rewarding. And Meredith and I have had multiple conversations about how much we would have benefited from a program like this when we had our daughters. And when Sienna was born, my husband and I just processed the diagnosis in different ways and different speeds. And I'm from a different area than Pittsburgh, so I didn't really have any family around here. And it was just a very isolating time. I felt very alone. So, but I wasn't comfortable enough to go to events by myself. So my mentee and I, we talk, I asked her in the beginning what was most comfortable. Texting with a newborn is what's most comfortable for sure. And, to be able to answer her questions on a regular basis and connect with her, I mean, that is the entire reason we're here to help and support these new families. And, mentors are inviting mentees to events. We hosted some families in the Pirates Suite. Pirates Charities donated that to us, and to like offer an intimate space for parents to connect with other parents and be able to talk. It's just so incredible. And we feel very fortunate to have this program here.
That's so great. Yeah, my parents have shared on the podcast before about their experience back in the mid 1970s, and I can't imagine how much better their experience could have been had they had something like this back then. So that's a fantastic thing that we're able to do for our local families here. What else? What else is? Give us one more thing. What else is going on within DSAP these days that you would want to highlight for us today?
Yeah, so the other big thing that we've brought to the table here in 2022 is adaptive fitness. We're just seeing from our teens and adults just the need to get active, but there are a lot of great programs out there, but again, just bringing, looking at national programs that are out there for Down syndrome, how can we bring those to Pittsburgh? So specifically Down to Box, that is a program that is out of Delaware. And so we brought that national program to Pittsburgh. We are the 13th site to have that. So we are running our second session. So it's a 12-week session, and it's weekly hour-long activities, and it's actually at a boxing gym. So our partners Fits for Boxing Gym, and they have a location in both Hampton and Murraysville. So again, with the bridges, you can go in different locations. And so we have almost 30 athletes at the Hampton location, and we have right under 20 at Murraysville. And so that runs weekly through the fall. We also have a weekly program, Buddy Up Tennis, and that is actually over on the east side in Fox Chapel. So, we have some other local organizations like Therapy Works that have their own adaptive fitness, and we are able to partner and subsidize some of their programs as well. So, our next sessions will start after the holidays. So stay tuned for, what's up next.
Oh, that's exciting. So, okay, now I definitely want to spend a little bit of time talking about this big event that is coming up here, the 28th annual Pittsburgh Buddy Walk, which is always a joy to be a part of. And I know for our listeners who are not in the Pittsburgh area, some of these things you say, well, what does this have to do with me? And I think a lot of what you guys have discussed up till now, and including this Buddy Walk, is showing the importance of community and getting together. And so even for our listeners who are outside of the area, so important for you guys to work with your local associations to perhaps put some of these things on for your own families in your own areas. And one that I would not want to miss would be the Buddy Walk. So tell us, Meredith, tell us a little bit about the Buddy Walk. Where is it going to be this year here in Pittsburgh, and who's invited and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody is invited.
Yay!
It is Sunday, October 23rd, and it is at Shenley Plaza, which is in the heart of Oakland. So it's right on Pitt's campus. It's a 1-acre green space right in the heart of the city with the Cathedral of Learning right in the back. We do call the Pittsburgh Buddy Walk our giant family reunion because we serve all of Western PA. So, families are coming in from all over. They're bringing their teams, they're bringing their families, community members are coming. We have, anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500, individuals just invade this space right in the heart of Oakland. We do it there. This is our second year having it at this location. We wanted to be seen. We wanted to be easily accessible. It's right on the public transit. And most importantly, we really wanted to, spread Down syndrome awareness and acceptance. Last year was our first year being there, and just having, individuals just walk up that were just walking in the neighborhood, and they wanted to know what was going on. And, some people were like, well, I need to get my teenagers involved. This is something that they need to be involved in. And then we do a 1-mile fun walk, on public sidewalks. We walk from Shenley Plaza down to Phipps Conservatory and back. So we are walking along, we have crossing guards, so we're not closing streets. We're just, taking our turns, crossing the street. But we, it's a day of celebration. Individuals with Down syndrome of all ages are there. So, they're, our guest of honor for the day. And then just as families invade, we're, having activities like balloon artists, airbrush tattoos, crafts, obstacle course, yard games. We have, special appearances from, local mascots. We have, princesses, superheroes. you name it, they're there. Another unique thing we brought last year was, the self-advocate poster session, where we're inviting our teens and adults to be able to showcase, tell us about your jobs, tell us about, where you're going to college, what's your favorite hobby? And, they're lining the outside of one of our tending areas. And some people chose to, share about what it is that they're doing, and others just left theirs for display. So it just was really neat for some of our younger families to see our adults thriving, in just their day-to-day lives. And lastly, of course, we can't forget about, the raffle baskets. We have a huge tent full of raffle baskets. And then we have, merchandise, but most importantly, we have our 2023 DSAP calendar, where we invite our community to submit pictures, or we have volunteer photographers. And this year we have 144 photos.
Wow.
Never had that many. So check that out. Those will be on sale for the first time at the Buddy Walk. So yeah, fantastic. Lots of fun things.
Yeah. What is it that DSAP needs perhaps in order to make this run? Do the two of you just run this all by yourself with your board, or how does who all gets involved with this?
Now that's funny, Kishore. That's funny. No, we actually have about 200 volunteers.
Wow.
So we actually and Kishore, I'm sure, can put in the show notes about the link to be able to get involved, because you can get involved and register and come and walk with us. There's an opportunity to donate. And then, of course, there's an opportunity to volunteer. So being that we're right here on Pitt's campus, a lot of our, Pitt students will come. CMU is right there. Carlo is there, Chatham. So many of our college students are able to come. We have a lot of high school students that come in, and then just, area businesses like to have teams, or they just come and volunteer for the day. So yeah, it's incredible, the outpouring of support from our community to make it run, because as Shannon mentioned earlier, we are an organization almost primarily run by volunteers. So without the amazingness of volunteers, we would not be able to do what we do. So we are unbelievably grateful for that.
Shannon, from your perspective, what do you look at when you think of the Buddy Walk in terms of how it's impacting the community, but your family? I know that many of the families come with shirts and team names all over their shirts. Your family, I believe, being one of those as well. So tell us a little bit more from a family perspective. What's it like?
Yeah. So my older daughter, she always says it's one of her favorite days of the year, and she looks forward to having our friends and family alongside us. And there's so much to do for them. And I remember my first Buddy Walk and just looking around and at the community and how happy everyone was to be together, and how enriched they were by who in their lives had Down syndrome. And it's a wonderful feeling. And I look forward to that every single year. So I'm excited about it. Yes, we have a team. It's incredibly meaningful. And what I'm looking forward to the most this year is connecting with these new first call moms. I've talked to a lot of them, and they are all starting teams. So this will be their first experience with the community. And it's just a wonderful thing. It's a rite of passage in this community, and I love it.
That's fantastic. Boy, with everything that DSAP is doing, I feel like we could probably have a 2-hour podcast and still be skimming the surface. It's really amazing to see how far this organization has come over the years, and how grateful we are at the Down Syndrome Center for everything that you all do for us. And so a beautiful partnership that we really enjoy, and couldn't do what we do without you all as well. So before I close this podcast, is there anything I should include in the show notes? Of course, I'll include the website to the Down Syndrome Association, the Buddy Walk specific website as well. Anything else you guys would want me to highlight in the show notes or anything like that?
I was going to say, we're on social media. We're on
Perfect.
Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We can put all of our, different handles to be able to make sure that you guys can follow us everywhere. And
That's
stay,
fantastic.
because there's always, different events outside of Buddy Walk that we need volunteers. So,
Awesome.
To stay tuned for what's next.
All right. Well, thank you both again for joining me on the podcast. And thank you, as always, to our listeners. And for those of you who are local, I really, really look forward to meeting some of you, hopefully all of you, at the Buddy Walk here in a few weeks. Rain or shine, this thing goes on. Am I correct?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
No need to wonder.
It's all good. We will be there. Yep.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And so look forward to meeting many of our listeners there as well. And for those of you who have any questions or anything you would like us to address on the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at downsyndromecenter@chp.edu. I do indeed read every single one of those emails and respond to them as well. So please do reach out if there's anything that you would like us to cover. If you would like to join with us in what we do at the center, please do go to www.givetochildrens.org/Down Syndrome Center, and you can partner with us there. But until next time, bye-bye.